the labor of a tzaddik. The shkia of the shemesh, the sunset of the shemesh, is when the tzaddik goes to the Eilam Helyon, to the upper world. Now it says, V'zorach HaShemesh, the tzaddik was born. So in this sense, U'boa HaShemesh, the tzaddik was nifter. So the Medrash explains that the two Shemoshim, the two sons in this pasuk, are not referring to the same tzaddik. The Zorach HaShemesh is one tzaddik, U'boa HaShemesh is another tzaddik. So the pasuk is telling us the order of Hashem in this world. Hashem ensures that there should always be tzaddikim. And that person that has potential to be a tzaddik, he's born before Hashem prepares the tzaddik of the next generation before taking the tzaddik from the previous generation. And that's what the pasuk says. A tzaddik nifta min ha'olam. A tzaddik doesn't depart from this world before, unless was born another tzaddik equal to him to be continued his hemshech, his continuation. In fact, many years ago, it's already a good 50 years ago, more than 50, it's 56 years. When Rav Aaron Kotler in America was nifta, the Satmar Rav, even though they didn't see eye to eye in many different things, but this is a very good example of a machlekes of tzaddikim. The Satmar Rav was maspid Rav Aaron Kotler. Many issues they argued. Rav Aaron Kotler came to Eretz Yisrael to encourage the voting. The Satmar Rav held you shouldn't vote. So the Satmar Rav held you shouldn't take money from the government. Rav Aaron Kotler made chinuch atzmoi to save many thousands of children. So many differences of opinion between them. And the Satmar Rav, when he was mastered Rav Aaron's, he said he brought this chazal. We'll talk about it, what's the connection to Pashas HaShavua. The Zorach HaShemesh U'bo HaShemesh, he says that tzaddik doesn't depart from the world before Hashem prepares another tzaddik to take his place. So he said he doesn't see that the next generation in America is going to, or anyways, is going to produce a tzaddik on the level of Rav Aaron Kotler. But it's still a promise that no tzaddik departs from the world before another tzaddik takes his place. It says the only tzaddik that he can picture taking his place is the Shemesh, the son of Melech HaMashiach. So it must be that he departed, that we're waiting for Mashiach, but that's the one that's going to take his place. He doesn't see that the generations will produce such a tzaddik. It's just beautiful, the idea that they both are called upon in here too. The last thing in Pashas Vayera, let's analyze what happens here. The last Pashas Vayera ends Uvesuel Yolad es Rivka. Rivka was born. Rivka was born. Yiyu Chaya Sarah Mea Shana. Sarah can now depart from the world. The continuation of Sarah has already been prepared. Rivka has already been born. Now Sarah can depart. So the Medrash brings this pasuk V'zorach HaShemesh U'bo HaShemesh. What is fascinating is the first place where we see this inyan, because the world was full of all sorts of people, but the beginning of Klal Yisrael is in the Imois. And this is where the Torah tells us, Sarah departs, Rivka is born, there's a continuation prepared. Comes the Balaturim and says that this is hinted, everything is hinted in the Torah. So he says, the Torah says over here, Vayiyu Chaya Sarah Mea Shana, 100 years, and then 20 and 7. Sarah Mea Shana, let's look at the first letters of Sarah Mea Shana. Shin, Sarah Shin, Mea Mem, Shana Shin. What does it make? Shemesh. So the Torah was merames this over here. The Torah hinted to this pasuk written later by Shlomo HaMelech of this Seder. This is the Balatur. Ruach HaKodesh. Doch nifla, mamish nifla. Everything's hinted in the Torah. So the Torah is expressing that Sarah was the Shemesh in her generation. She was the leaving of Sarah from this world is the departing, is the setting of the sun. But already Rivka was already prepared to take her place. And so Chaya Sarah has these two parts. It has the story of the departure of Sarah and the preparation of the Shidduch of Rivka for Yitzchak, where she's the replacement, she's the continuation of Sarah Imei. But there's also fascinating now the fact that it's connected, it's not stam. I want to show you it's not just a remez with the sun. What does the sun do? What does the sun give us? What do we measure in terms of sun? The sun gives us warmth, but we wouldn't without the sun, we'd have to use a different measure of time. I don't know what measure of time we would use for years, but the sun gives us a way to measure time. The revolution of the sun is called a year. We measure years by the revolution of the sun. Sarah, where is the sun hinted over here in the lifespan of Sarah, measuring in time, which time is measured in terms of the sun. Sarah Meya Shana. Specifically, the pasuk which is speaking about, which is being Merami Sarah as a Shemesh, is speaking about the lifespan of Sarah in terms of years, and years are given to the world only through the sun. So it's not just a hint over here, it's connected with the basic pshat in the pasuk. Now, there are two things in this world which are interconnected together. There are three, we have a Kabbalah, that there are three things which are, so to speak, total worlds in themselves and interrelated together, which is like this. There's a concept, man is called an Olam Katan. He contains in himself, he's a cosmic, he's a capsule of everything in the world in miniature. Everything in the world is contained in man. He's what the Chachamim call Olam Katan. In the same way, time. Whatever you have in man, there's something in time corresponding to that. That's also a capsule containing the whole world. And the same way in space. It's called in the Kabbalah, we'll make it mystical, it's called Olam Shana Nefesh. Olam Shana. Olam is space, Shana is the capsule of time, and Nefesh is the soul of man. Whatever you have in Nefesh, there's corresponding in time, and there's corresponding in space. Why am I talking about this over here? Because there's an interesting chazal. It says that Rabbi Akiva, I once heard it, will say right away, because right now too you can apply it. I'll let me see why you can apply it. Rabbi Akiva was darshning, Makam darshning, right? And he saw that the people fell asleep. I once heard somebody say, nothing changed in 2,000 years. The people fell asleep. So he said something to awaken them from the sleep. So he said something amazing, something interesting, because somebody says something says strange, everybody wakes up. So he said, why was Esther Hamalka? How is it that Esther Hamalka merited how many medinot, on how many, the Megillah Esther says, on how many states did Esther rule? How many?
127.
127. And how many years does the pasuk tell us that Sarah Imenu lived? 127, the same. It says, why did Esther merit to rule on 127 years? Said HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tovoi bas bita shel Sarah, let the granddaughter of Sarah, who lived 127 years, and rule over 127 countries. That's what Rabbi Akiva said to wake the people up. And now, let's try to understand the pshat. What Rabbi Akiva really did over here, he made a relationship between time and space. He compared the rulership, the sovereignty of Esther in space on 127 types of countries to the living of Sarah 127 years, which is a measure of time. The 127 Medinas is a measure of space, and this is a measure of time. What's the connection? Sarah, in her life, to go back to the first word of the Pasha. You know, we have 10 statements of creation. What's the word leading to every creation that Hashem made? There's one word before every creation in Pasha's Gracious. You know what the word is? Yehi, and then Vayi. And now here, what does it say over here? Vayiyu Chaya Sarah. What does this mean? There's an expression, there's a poem from the Evan Ezra. He spoke about the past. And he said, Ha'ava, the past, is ayin. Not with an ayin, the letter ayin, but with an aleph. You know what it means? Ha'ava ayin, the past is gone. Oh. It's nothing, but it's not. Depends what you do with it. Everything, if a person lives, and he just lives for his various taivas, just to eat a good meal or whatever, and to enjoy, it's true, ha'ava ayin. And nothing remains in it. All the pleasure of this world, the person doesn't use it for a mitzvah, there's nothing in it. Nothing. But Sarah was every second using for the purpose of life, to reveal the kingdom of heaven, which is the purpose of life. And that's what the pasuk states over here. Vayiyu Chaya Sarah. The life of Sarah was a havaya, was a state of being, was a creation. She was creating a person in every word, in every thought, he's creating. And if it has positive, he's creating his netzach, he's creating his eternal life, infinity. Vayiyu Chaya Sarah. The life of Sarah was a constant creation. She was doing something positive and remained forever. It all gathered together to one complete creation. So she was, that's the name Sarah. Sarah was, you could say, either she brought the Malchus of Esh. The word Sarah comes from the word Sar. What is a Sar? A sovereign, a prince, or a prince, a ruler. Chaya Sarah, the life of Sarah's sovereignty, either of herself, or she was sovereign, she was sovereign, she was ruler over herself, to bring the rulership, to announce to the world the rulership of the Melech Malchi Amlochim, the King of Kings of Kodesh Baruch. That's Chaya Sarah. So in every minute of her life, she was pronouncing to the world the kingdom of Hashem. So it all remained. Sarah brought in her life, in time, she was Oymed ben Isayin, standing in a test in every minute of her life, the kingdom of Hashem. She made Hashem king over every minute of her life. Let her granddaughter, like Sarah did in time, that she brought the rulership of Hashem into the world in time for 127 years, let her granddaughter Esther announce the rulership of Hashem in the world in 127 different countries. Because that's the story of Purim. The story of Purim is through the Megillas Esther, one showed the divine providence of Hashem, that even when it looks like Hashem is not with Am Yisrael, that He's Mashgiach, that everything, we don't understand everything that happened. There's such Midas Hadin and things like that. But the story of Purim was to show the constant and intimate involvement of Hashem with this world, of Hashgacha Pratis, that He's, even if He looks like He's not there, He is there. So that's the connection between time and space that Rabbi Akiva made. In the same sense, the Pasuk expresses this idea. For example, we have, where's the most holiest place in the world? What was the holiest place? Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash. What in time corresponds to the Beis HaMikdash? What's the holiest time? In time, what's the holiest day of the year in time?
Yom Kippur.
So the boys say, the men say here, Yom Kippur. But I have a kasha on these people that are telling me Yom Kippur, that I don't know what they do Friday night when they daven. I want to ask a kasha from the Siddur, not from the Chazal, from the Siddur.
7 days.
What?
7 days.
Let's see, 7 days, no proof. We're
7th
talking,
day.
which is the holiest day?
7.
How do you know? Because it says in the Siddur. Look, let's see what it says in the Siddur. Let's see what it says in the Siddur. Friday night. What do you say in Shemona Esrei on Friday night? We're not going to go to Gemaras, the Psukim. What do we say in the Siddur? You have to think what we're saying. No, that's no proof of anything. V'kidasht ata kidashtas yom hashvi. You sanctified the 7th day, and you blessed it from all the days. V'kidashtoi mikol hazman. You sanctified it more than all the other times. That's it. Nothing. No, you can't argue on that. Kidashtoi, that means it's more holy than Yom Kippur. Now, if you want it.
Why is Yom Kippur called Shabbat Shabbaton?
Very good question. Good question. And I'll answer you. Because on Yom Kippur, we spoke about this before Yom Kippur, maybe not here, maybe I didn't. But we don't only rest, that's how the Rambam says, from work. It's an absolute day of rest. We rest from all physical activities. We rest from eating and drinking too. So rest from everything. We turn to the nefesh. So Shabbat, it's total rest. Shabbos, there's a mitzvah to eat. So it's not, in the rest, it's more rest. But what's the proof? Now let's go to proof. What's the reason? Because if somebody's mechalel, we have two types of einshim in the Torah. We have averis, which is kores, but it's only heavenly severance from life, but it's not punished by the Beis Din down here. That you don't kill him. What's the how? That's called kores. And then we have averis, which are chayiv Mrs. Beis Din, arba Mrs. Beis Din, skila sreifa herik chenek. And in those four types of deaths by heaven, by Beis Din, there's four levels. The strongest of the four is skila. What's the din if somebody's mechalo Shabbos, if he desecrates the Shabbos with witnesses and he accepts warning? Skila. What's the din if somebody desecrates Yom Kippur? Kores. So we see that it's more severe. That's the proof.
Okay.
If we would relate to the Kedusha of Shabbos like we would relate to the Kedusha of Yom Kippur, there'd be less people in the world being mechalo Shabbos. No question. And so we see that people keep, of course, people keep Yom Kippur because since it comes one day a year, we relate to it with such fear and awe and respect. So even the very far people, you give it respect. If we would have the same respect for Shabbos, there'd be less people in this world being Mechala Shabbos. In fact, there was once in Pesach Tikva, originally Pesach Tikva was by very religious Jews, and then there was one Jew who desecrated the Shabbos in Bahasia. And the people were Shabbos in Barabim, in public, and the people were shocked. So they came to the Chazon Ish. They said, what do they have to be mitaken? First the Chazon Ish didn't answer them. Then the Chazon Ish said, even though, I'm not speaking anything halach l'maisa now, depends where and what, even though there are shittas to rely on the Erev, but there are reasons not to rely on the Erev. So he said, if the people which are medaktik b'mitzvahs, the Talmidei Chachamim, if they are mekel in Shabbos, so the people far away come ready to desecrate the Shabbos even publicly. So if the Talmidei Chachamim make themselves cooler in Shabbos, just being relying on the Erev, the people further away machal Shabbos. It was because Am Yisrael is a chain, Am Yisrael, and it's like they're one big chain. And if the people closest move a drop away, the people furthest go to even converting or whatever you want. So I'll go upon him. So what do we get? What am I getting to? All right. So we have like this parallel. Shabbos is the holiest day of the year, and the holiest place in the world is, what did we say? Beit HaMikdash. So if we say that everything in time corresponds to space, that means there has to be a parallel between Shabbos and Beis HaMikdash. And if you look in the Torah, at the end of Parshas Kedoshim, I think it is, I think it's there, it says explicitly, the Torah says, we have a pasuk, and the Torah speaks about the two things in one pasuk. The Torah makes this equation. Let me see, 1 minute. No, it's not Kedoshim, so which one is it? Nice. Toisai Tishmoiru, Umikdoshai, Umikdoshi Tiro. Where's this passage? If anybody knows, I'll appreciate it very much. Where is it? It's a pasuk in the Torah. I don't find it now. Anyway, the Torah equated, said like you have to keep Shabbos, you should fear the base of the Shechina and the Beis HaMikdash. Why did the Torah make this equation between the two? Because they're equated. Shabbos is the Mikdash. When you enter Shabbos, it's as if you entered the Beis HaMikdash. It's the Mikdash of time. Because these two things correlate together. Like this Medrash expressed the idea of making an equation between the 127 years of Sarah Imeinu and the 127 Medinot, that the countries that Esther ruled. And as the Medrash here makes this equation between space and time, 127 in space by Esther and 127 in time. These two things interrelate together. Whatever it's a principle. What is the place in the guf? Let's take it even a bit further. Where is the mitzvah in the guf which corresponds with Shabbos and Beis HaMikdash? So I'll tell you a sod. Where's the place in the guf? Bris Milah. Bris Kodesh. It's Kodesh. The bris milah of a child, that's corresponding, that's in nefesh, like we said. These three worlds, these are three complete worlds in themselves, that each one corresponds to the other. Whatever you have in nefesh, you have in zman, and you have in space. And that's what's called, the mystics call it, olam shona nefesh. So, like in the bris milah, in the nefesh, that corresponds to Shabbos in time. Proof of that fact is bris milah is how the Torah calls it? Bris. How does the Torah call Shabbos? Bris. Bris Olam. Bris Beini Bein Yisrael. Bris. And there's a bris nichlas in Eretz Yisrael, and the Ikar Kedusha, the main sanctity of Eretz Yisrael, is Mokom HaMikdash. Now let's go to the opposites. What in the person? Which midah in the person? Now, Beis Hamikdash represents the madrega, the level, which is mind-boggling. If you think about it, how far a person can get. What I mean, the Torah says, "Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'seichel." Make me a mikdash, and where's Hashem going to rest with His divine presence? In every person. You know what that concept? Hashem is going to rest in each person. We can only make the Shekhinah, something of Hashem can be in each person. That's Beis Hamikdash. What is the opposite of Beis Hamikdash? You know what the opposite of Beis Hamikdash is? There's a midah called Ga'ava. That a person thinks that he's in charge. Because the Chazal say about the Baal Gaiva, Ein Ani, if somebody has Gava, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ein Ani v'hu yecholim ladur yachdav. You can learn in Saita Daf Hey. In Second Saita, the page 5. Ein Ani v'hu yecholim ladur yachdav. That's, you can't get more. That's Chuk Beis Hamikdash. You want to know what Chuk Beis Hamikdash is? The midah of Gaiva. What's Binyan Beis Hamikdash? The midah of Anova. That's Binyan Beis Hamikdash. That a person, Anova means that he remembers Hashem, that everything is Hashem, it's not him. In this sense, and now let's talk, in other words, there's a tendency in a person, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a person like that. Even though it's really, Gaiva is the most common thing, and the more one has less to be Gava about, the more Gaiva you see. Where do you see Gaiva? You see children, they're full of Gaiva. Children, they're full of Gaiva. The less a person has, the more Gaiva. Now it's totally illogical, because every person knows in 1 second he can that's it. He can have a stroke, lose his intelligence, lose his sight, lose everything. In 1 second he's gone. So what does he have to be? How can he be about Gaiva? But Hashem put it in a person. It's a part that's made such a teva, even though it's against the seichel, that a person feels like he's in charge. In order that there be mitzvahs and avodas Hashem, a person has to work to remember that everything he has is from Hashem. One of the ways, by the way, and that's, Gaiva is a natural phenomenon. Every person is about Gaiva. Without avodah, without working on it, a person is naturally about Gaiva. Because I'll go to the extreme that they say, if you see gasas ruach, then of course it must be that there's no Torah. The less Torah, the more gasas ruach, the more Gaiva. Learning Torah is a way that brings to the opposite of Gaiva. And the second thing is tefillah. Because in tefillah, a person says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if he thinks what he's saying, he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that everything is from Hashem. So it reminds him that there's a Borei Olam. The person has to be constantly reminded that there's a Borei Olam. He has to be reminded that he's getting things from Hashem. And tefillah brings to Anova, and Anova is Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Because the Binyan Beis Hamikdash is to create the possibility that the person can have a connection with the Shekhinah. And as long and Gaiva chases away the Shekhinah. Because what's called the Beis Hamikdash is called the language of Chazal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was this, I'll translate it, the first in Hebrew, this Ave Medira B'Tachtoinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a desire to have a dira, to have a resting place in the Tachtoinu, in the lower worlds. What's the language that the Chazal use about the Gaiva? Ein ani v'hu yecholim ladur yachdav. We can't be together. We can't have it. We can't be together. The Baal Gaiva pushes away the Shechina. And I'll tell you something fascinating. You know where the first place where the mitzvah Beis Hamikdash is hinted? Before they were commanded. Where's the first? No, the first place that in Am Yisrael, where Am Yisrael expresses a relationship that they wanted to do with Beis Hamikdash. It's in Oz Yashir. Zeh Keli Van Veyu. So the Targum Onkelos explains Evlo Beis Hamikdash. But analyze the word Anveyu. Anveyu is Ani V'hu. Not Ani V'hu Eino Yicholna. Ani V'hu will be together. Will be Dayach. The essence, the teichen, the essence of the Beis Hamikdash is Ani V'hu. And the opposite, Churban Beis Hamikdash is Midas Hagayim. That's Churban Beis Hamikdash. It's Ein Ani V'hu. Ein Anvei. Ein Ani V'hu. Anvei is Ani V'hu. That's the tachlis of the mitzvahs. As a person, when a person works in tefillah, he's working on two things. He's working on the midah v'anova. Tefillah v'kavona. A person who prays with kavona, it helps him come to another, the humility. A person prays with kavona, he thinks what he's saying, reminds him that there's a Bari Olam, that he's not in charge. This brings to humility, and that's B'nai Beis Hamikdash. That's the construction of the Beis Hamikdash. One more thing, which we use formation creation, we should use every bit of time. By the way, this concept is expressed again by Avraham Avinu later on. The same concept. The Yidua Divrei Chazal, V'Avraham Zokein Bo Bayom. He came with his days. And so when a person doesn't use his time, so the days get lost. Avraham Zokein, that's what the Torah is expressing. This it says in the Zohar. Bo Bayomim, he came with his days. I mean, all his days, he never lost a day. Every day was used. Every day he was mosif. He added another madrega. He was in a constant state of aliyah, of going up in madrega. And because if a person doesn't go constantly, if a person is not growing, by the way, this is known from the Gra. The Gra says, some people think, you know, I can throw a joke. Like once a person says, you're not supposed to be extreme. You have to be the middle way. So I asked him, what's the middle way? Don't be more religious than me and don't be less. Whatever I do, that's the middle way. But you know, that a person says, you know, he reaches a status quo, I don't want to be extreme. Like me, to stay the same. If you, so the Gra says a principle, if you're not growing, you're going down. If a person isn't in a state of growth, then he must be going down in Ruchnius. You can't, in Ruchnius, stay status quo. There's no such thing. Life in this world is called halicha. A person is a state of movement. And if he's not moving towards Hashem, then Bal Kochach, by force, he's moving away from Hashem. And every minute the person is either approaching Hashem, but the mitzvah, or moving away from Hashem. And this is a befeirusha, this is an explicit pasuk. Oirach Chaim L'mayla L'haskil. Oirach Chaim, the way to life, to eternity, is L'mayla L'haskil, to be in a state of going up. L'man, why do you have to be L'mayla L'haskil? Why do you have to go L'mayla? L'man, the end of this pasuk is L'man Sur Misha'il Mata. If you don't want to go to Sha'il Mata, to Gehenim, then you have to be in a state of belief. Because if you want, you can say it in a scientific way. It's not just the gravity pulling the gravitational pull is not just pulling the weight of things in this world. There's a gravitational pull, spiritual gravitational pull. This world constantly has a gravitational pull pulling the person down. He's pulling him to the gashmis of this world. And to counteract the gravitational pull of the gashmis of this world, he needs a power going the opposite direction, a chukul alot, a desire to approach Hashem. And if he doesn't have that chukul alot, then Bal Koch, by force, the gravitational pull of this world is pulling him down, and pulling him down and away from Hashem. To counteract the force of this world, the natural force that pushes Hashem, pushes the person away from Hashem, he has to have a drive to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has to be in a constant state of drive of aliyah. He has to be. And that's Bo Avram Zokin Bo Bayom. If a person is using his time correctly, so Bo, he's traveling through the days because he's in a constant aliyah. He's going from Madrega to Madrega. And that's what the pasuk expresses about Avraham Avinu, and this is what the pasuk expresses in connection with Sarah by Chaya Sarah. But there's one thing fascinating. At the pasuk says at the end, it says Shnei Chaya Sarah. What's Shnei Chaya Sarah? Rashi says Kulam Shavim L'Tayva. Kulam Shavim L'Tayva. It sounds like this Sarah had an unbelievable life. Kulam Shavim L'Tayva. What's this Kulam Shavim L'Tayva? 90 years she was in pain that she was barren without children, didn't have a child, captured by Parah, having to be released by Ness, captured by Avimelech, twice captured by kings and in prison. What is without children? What's the Shavim L'Tayva? What, she was in a 5-star hotel all the night? What's this Kulam Shavim L'Tayva? All of them were equal and good. The teretz is that Sarah Imeinu understood that everything that Hashem does with Taiv, Kulam Shavim L'Tayva, everything she used for Ruchnius, to make it eternal. In every state she found what's the Ratzon Hashem, and she turned it into a vessel to bring herself Nitzchias, to bring herself to Elamah. It's Kulam Shavim L'Tayva. Because she used everything that happens to a person is to be mashlim, to bring him to complete his neshama. Sarah didn't miss any opportunity to improve and to grow her neshama. It's kulam shavim l'tayva. They're all equal because they all brought her, they were all kalim, they were all tools to bring her to the tachlis, which is to be zeicha, to be merit elam abor. I didn't get to it. That's another subject. I thought maybe I won't have the passion to finish the movie.
Alo chagoye lo yisimi kol ero yevavorei chesal yorim Amalo chagoye lo yisimi kol ero yevavorei chesal yorim